We want to give a perspective of Moorish world history. So you can write this book down. Moorish World History, Virginia edition. Moorish World History, Virginia edition. Kerry, Kerry, Allende, Allendel. Kerry Allendel. Moorish World History. Chapter 7. We are Moors on both sides of the Atlantic. The meaning of the term Moor means Aboriginal inhabitant of Africa, an Egyptian term used to describe the indigenous people of Africa. All Africans were esteemed as Moors. The late Joseph McCabe once observed that a Moorish anthropologist would call the same people pale Moors. He stated, in medieval times, the name Moor was not restricted to the inhabitants of Morocco, but it was customary to refer to all Africans as Moors. The highly ambiguous word Negro had not yet been invented. Right? So we have this idea that one, Africans were known as Moors. Africans were known as Moors. We also have to add that America, so Moors, is also Africa. And what people would call Africa, Canaanland or South Asia. So if we look at this idea of combating or correcting Black history, what we have to initially start doing is having a correct perspective of what the history is so that we can know where we're going forward. Without the right reference points, we're going to be scattered when it comes to researching ourselves, finding out ourselves. So when we hear the term, phrase, brand, African, before anything, relative to our people. So for people here, they say African Canadian. South, they say African American. People who come from Africa don't get called African whatever. Only the people here get called that. The people over there would be Ghanaian Canadian, Ghanaian American, or whatever like that. So, in them using the term African, with having this limited bit of information, we know that when they say African Canadian, they're really saying Moorish Canadian or Moors of Canada. They say African American, they're really saying Moors of America. Once you're talking from that perspective, that eliminates the whole concept of a so-called Black history. Right? Black now becomes not even needed, not even useful. Because we're now replacing, because this is a brand, so this can't identify the people. Black can't identify the people. African is closer to use as their identification, but only if African is relative to Moors. If they're just using African alone, and not from the perspective that this is a synonym for Moors, then this is the history that continues. Because the initial idea of this is Black Moor. And then when they got the Moors out of Europe,
Islam.
when they got the Moors out of Europe, they got rid of Moor and just left black. And then kept pushing that the people are this, right? So we're going back to reclaim this, to reclaim Africa as over here, right? And to put it on the record that Africa over there is South Asia, right? Africa over there is South Asia. Because if we look at the continents, we have north and south here, and then north and south over there. So if north and south over here are called the same thing, then north and south over there should be called the same thing. It only makes sense, right? We know from contemporary records, which have not come down to us from the era of medieval Moorish supremacy, that the Moors did not consider themselves white men. The Moors did not consider themselves white men. An interesting discussion on this point may be found in one of the many valuable works of Professor J.B.S. Haldane, H-A-L-D-A-N-E, J.B.S. Haldane, as follows. We are so accustomed to hearing of the superiority of Europeans that it is perhaps worth quoting from the Moorish writer Said of Toledo, who wrote at the time when Toledo was in Moorish hands. Describing the people who lived north of the Pyrenees, he said, "They are cold, temperament, and never reach maturity. They are great stature and of a white color, but they lack all sharpness of wit and penetration of intellect. We must remember that 700 years ago, such a point of view had at least empirical justification, for at that time trigonometry was being studied in Toledo. In Europe, a man was regarded as learned if he got as far as the 5th position of the book of Euclid. Arabs, on the other hand, at the time, who were also a minority in the so-called Arab culture of the Middle Ages, regarded a dark complexion as a badge of honor. One of the most learned of modern historians, Professor Arnold Toynbee, noted that the primitive Arabs, who were the ruling element of the Umayyad Caliphate, called themselves the swarthy people, with connotation of racial superiority, and their Persian and Turkish subjects, the ruddy people, with a connotation of racial inferiority. That is to say, they drew the distinction that Europeans draw between blondes and brunettes. In the days of the Crusaders, and in the camp of the leader whose pious arms redeemed the sepulchre of Christ from the mixed nations of Asia and Libya, the price of war horse was 3 slaves. The Turks, whose law forbids the enslaving of a Mohammedan, so Mohammedan, which turn to Mohammedan, which turn to Muslim, which turn to Muslim. The Turks, whose law forbids the enslaving of a Mohammedan, still continue to sell Christian captives. And we have seen that the father of Virginia, John Smith, had himself tasted the bitterness of Turkish bondage. All this might have had no influence on the destinies of America, but for the long and doubtful struggles between Christians and Moors in the west of Europe, where for more than 7 centuries and in more than 3,000 battles, the two religions were arrayed against each other. The bondage was the reciprocal doom of the captive. Bigotry inflamed revenge and animated the spirit of merciless and exterminating warfare. France and Italy were filled with Saracen slaves. So all these are Saracen, Mohammedan, Muslim, Africans, are all terms that they use when they're identifying our people. But if you leave it up to our people, they would say that these aren't them, Mohammedans aren't them, Muslims aren't them, Muslims definitely aren't them. And then, they would kind of move toward Africa.
And you can add to that list Arab too, right?
Right. France and Italy were filled with Saracen slaves. The number of them sold into Christian bondage exceeded the number of all the Christians ever sold by the pirates of Barbary. The clergy, who had pleaded successfully for the Christian, felt no sympathy for the unbeliever. The final victory of the Spaniards over the Moors of Granada, an event contemporary with the discovery of America, was signalized by the great emigration of Moors to the coast of North Africa, where each mercantile city became a nest of pirates, and every Christian the wanted treasure of the successful corsair. Servitude, and then that's displayed in the movie The Long Ships with Sidney Poitier, when he was the head of the quote-unquote pirates or whatever like that, and then the barbarians were the Europeans who were trying to, make some type of claim, and his mentality was he needs to get back to the customs of the ancient forefathers, and he was into trying to find this golden belt, right? And he used the so-called barbarians to assist him in going to try to find the belt. Servitude was thus the doom of the Christian in North Africa. The hatred of the Moorish dominion extended to all of Africa, and indiscriminate and retailing bigotry felt no remorse at doming the sons of Africa to bondage. All Africans were esteemed as Moors from the book The History of the United States and Discovery of the American Continent, chapter 5. Right? So once again, servitude was thus the doom of the Christian in North Africa. So we're talking about the servitude of these people that we would say are Europeans. The servitude implies that they were serfs. That if they were serfs, then they were slaves. So part of the combating the black history is addressing how these individuals, that when you check the history, they were connected to being slaves, right? At a time when they said that they were bringing us over here on the slave ship, right?
Them two lie.
Right? That's a clear contradiction to the so-called Black history slave myth.
And if they were slaves, then they were Slavs, and we were never Slavs.
So if they were the slaves, and slave comes from Slav, then the so-called slave history of the Americas is not necessarily our history. Now, when you do the research on the slave history of the Americas, you find out that all the first plantations, Asiatics were the slave masters, not Europeans. And then that's what they were showing in the Django movie.
What do you mean Asiatics?
So you say Asiatics, we're talking about same thing that we had up earlier, when the world was known as Asia, Asiatics would have been those people. You would also say Oriental. Right? And then opposite of Oriental would be Occidental. And then it goes back to the thing saying
So did that have to do with why they want to call the people who dwell in Asia now Oriental? Or they call them Asian and then they call what we would consider Europeans or whatever, Caucasian?
right, well, if we look at Caucasian, the Europeans being called Caucasian because Europe's in Asia. Or the Caucasus Mountains is in Asia, right? But that doesn't make them Oriental or Asiatic, right? Now, with regard to so-called Asians being classified as Oriental or Asiatic, that didn't only mean them. So when we say Oriental,
It just
in our mind we go to slant-eyed people.
it's the same as like on this side when they want to say native, Aboriginal, and
Right.
just have a certain
Right.
people, but
Right.
And I have a book at my house that says, it's called Our Oriental History, but on the front of it, it's got a picture of the Sphinx. And
Right.
It's got a picture of the temple in Cambodia.
Right.
So I'm showing you the broad spectrum of
The
what's
spectrum
considered
of what-
Asiatic people.
what the
What
word,
is looked at, and you only have this broad spectrum when you're studying Moorish history. If you're not studying Moorish history, like we're talking on the radio show downstairs, if you're not speaking Moorish history, then you're limiting yourself to slave history and that's it. And you're not going past that, and then there's nowhere in the future for you to go because slave history is just that portion as far as history is concerned, right?
So Oriental is another way of saying origin, or original.
Do this way. Send this over.
Or original or beginning, right?
Oriental first.
Y'all know what we're saying? Original or beginning? Right? You come to college or university, you get your orientation, right?
Orientation is the start.
That's the start, right?
Right, right. Orient. Also remember that, like we were saying earlier, Africa is part of Asia. So the proof of this, of Africa being Asia, is how so-called Chinese or whoever can go to Africa right now and set up shop on the continent to go dig the mines and all that stuff. how are they able to do that there
As merchants.
if they're not from there?
And then also have to take a
That's not their land.
classification of black too.
Say it again?
When they go there as merchants to set up shop
Right.
and do business, they have to take a
They have to be
classification
black.
of black.
Alright, so you can research that. That if Chinese want to do business in Africa, they have to accept that they're black. Like their business license is that they're black people.
Yeah, because when they're in South Africa setting up their stuff, they're arguing with the South African quote-unquote government that they want to be labeled as black people too, so they can get what the black people are supposed to get in South Africa now that they have got the power.
Right.
You know?
And
Okay,
it's,
Can I ask a question?
Sure,
So
sis.
Are you disputing against that, or the fact that they are able to do that? Because it seems like you're trying to, I mean, I have seen evidence, research that shows that we went to, that Buddha, all those people who worship Buddha are us, those are our ancestors, those
Right.
are our people. So for them now to come back and claim that, is that wrong? Or?
not necessarily. The part that's wrong is that our people not knowing that that's Asia, not Africa. So when we look at, for example, Berlin Conference, right? Berlin Conference, all these people came up and then they said, we're gonna create this place called Africa. We're gonna carve it up and whatever like that, and everybody's gonna get their portion,
Right.
right? They didn't do that to Africa. They did that to South Asia. They took South Asia and created Africa,
Oh, I see.
right? And now the people are going with, it's Africa. When they should be really going with, oh no, it's not Africa. Because they couldn't do the Berlin Conference to South Asia. They could only do that to a jurisdiction that they created. No different than over here. They're gonna say Ottawa, but that's an indigenous word. Why they say Ottawa? Why they say a European word, since they're colonists and all that stuff? Ain't no natives, not in Parliament. They're not in there. But they're using indigenous language in order to make their point that we are the rulers of the whatever. And then when you ask the indigenous people, well, what was that place called? They're not going to say, oh, it was Ottawa. They're going to go to the origin of Ottawa. Right? So, as far as with us now, Moors now are coming and we're lifting the veil that, well, Africa is actually over here. That's why there's pyramids over here. That's why Egypt's over here. That's why Memphis is over here. That's why Moab is over here. That's why Spain is over here. That's why all these things from over there are over here as well. Right? So we have to, like, you can look at it as damage control. Right? We're trying to limit more stuff that's about to come. If our people don't get it correct about, one, who they are, that they're not Negro, Black, Colored, African, all the stuff that they claim that they are, and two, where they stand is not Canada, U.S, and all the other things that they claim that it is. Because as soon as they most of the time, how they speak gets them in the jurisdiction where they get pulled over, shot up on the corner, but how they speak gets them there. Not necessarily how they act. Because their language is what creates the jurisdiction for them to be able to be taken advantage of. And then jurisdiction is juris, right, and diction, words. So that's how they get themselves caught up in places where they're not supposed to be.
Do you think that's the same reason why there's so many names? Saracen, Mohammedan, is that
Exactly.
Again, the same reason there's so many names. Is it to cover,
To-
to hide?
To cover,
Or is it,
well, if you look at it like, how you're saying, right? If you use all these names to cover, right, eventually you're gonna have 50 feet of names over the original name, right? Yes, using those names covers, but using those names also hides the true history. Because if you go to Saracen, Arab, and these terms, unless you're speaking or referring to an etymology dictionary where you're going to get the origin, that's going to tell you about some Middle East whatever, which has absolutely nothing to do with those terms, right? And as well, a lot of those things are substitutes because the European colonizer is a substitute. They can't speak from the original perspective. They have to speak from what they want people to follow as the status quo. But as soon as we start challenging the status quo, now you realize why the issue is of, keeping the Moors down. They'll let black guys talk forever. They'll let black people write books, give them money to write books. They'll let them go around the country doing lectures and all that stuff. But what are those people telling people? They're spreading falsehood, they're spreading wrong information in order to have the people more dumbed down than they were before this individual came. Right? So the Berlin Conference carved up this landmass that we know is South Asia. And being that they claimed it as Africa, we can't claim it. We shouldn't want to claim it, especially if we speak with the people from this place and they're going to tell you that they are from there, but they're not going to say I'm African. They won't identify their, or their identity won't be called African. It'll be called based on the nation, based on the land.
Senegalese, Congolese, Nigerian,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And most people from any part of the earth don't go around calling themselves black.
Right.
Black is a fairly new misnomer, and it's pretty much a North American thing. You meet people from South and Central America, and they'll tell you, I'm Brazilian, I'm Nicaraguan, I'm so-and-so, and same thing with people from Africa. I haven't met people from these places that say I'm black. It's only when they come over here and they hear all this black talk
That they adopted.
that they start to, exactly, yeah.
Right. Right.
so isn't that though a sign of, could that not be a positive in saying you're black in terms of numbers and gaining control over territory if there was a unification of people of African descent who say they're black, because it's kind of an amalgamation of people in that sense. It's supposed to unify us. I don't know if it always works. I mean, sometimes we don't always see that happen. But I always thought that that was the point of calling ourselves black. We know we're not that specific color black. We know that. But wasn't it the point to unify us in order to, as a strategy, to gain some form of power?
Right, but it was a strategy under illusion. So yeah, if we all said we're black, yes, that would unify us. But black doesn't identify people. So now we're unified, but now we're not people. Which takes away the concept of we're united. Which is why we're not united, because if anybody in the world tries to unite under an adjective, they're not getting anywhere. Because the world knows that people are proper nouns and they can't be adjectives. And as soon as the people qualify themselves by saying it out of their own mouth that they're adjective, now the beat down isn't on the person who made you black. the beat down is on yourself for accepting that illusion as a reality.
And then you also got to look at the fact that the majority of the people in the world that look like us have brown skin. Whether they have straight hair or whatever, they have brown skin.
Right.
So us saying we're black creates this category that actually cuts us off from all the rest of the brown skin people.
Everybody else
In the world.
knows that they're not black.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we should join back the worldwide
With the
family
family.
of
Right.
quote unquote brown people.
Can I?
That term black, it's, I think, it's building on what this lady was saying, it's, mostly when you hear the term black, I don't know about you, but when I first heard that black, immediately I thought of color.
Right.
Now when you think of color, you think of the rainbow.
Mm.
So now to describe a color to me, it's the perfect tool to confuse me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the issue often is to confuse the enemy or the perceived enemy,
Right.
which we are perceived
Right.
as, in order to take advantage of the enemy.
Exactly. And again, remember, it comes back to right words.
And then to put on the record from
The jurisdiction. Right words create the jurisdiction. Right? So
put on
if you, as soon as you start using wrong words, then there's no jurisdiction.
So to me, the word black often, and it's something, but I'm educated. One of the challenges I face is having a common agreement,
Yeah.
which is we often talk about why can we come together. But we can't come together if we don't fundamentally understand, can agree on who we are.
Right.
And you call an African black, or anybody for that matter, black, immediately there's this confusion. And then to say I'm a black American as opposed to I'm an Afro-American, a Canadian, or also Afro-Canadian, which is more culturally relevant. That confuses me, or confuses us, hence makes it difficult for us to come together.
Yeah. And that's the whole point of the enemy making sure we stay there. So they're gonna put their little people out there to make sure that they push, yeah, say it loud and all that stuff, and they got the people wearing all black, doing the fist up at the Super Bowl and all that stuff, keep people black. Because they already know that it's our downfall.
And that's not
but
our, and that's not our way of describing ourselves.
it's not, never has been. That's a modern term. There's no way that we're ancient people and saying that we're black. It's oxymoron.
and then just
Because
put
you
it.
can't be ancient with a word that came about in the 1400s or 1100s or whatever.
Put it on the record from the Black's Law Dictionary again. When you're speaking of color and colored persons such as, it says right here that it has been held that there is no legal technical signification to the phrase colored person, which the courts are bound judicially to know. So if you're going to identify yourself to the quote-unquote court as people of color, colored, such and such, there is no remedy in law for you. They don't recognize you as that, as being that.
And then when people say, oh, that's a white man's dictionary, that's why it says that. No, not really. That's a law. So color is a law term. So if we say we're colored people, National Association for Advancement of Colored People, that's what colored means. We're not talking about complexion of people or different complexions of people. We're talking about fraud,
Right.
a fake word. So
And
say
then to
colored
read the-
people, you say
yeah,
fake people.
To read the
Fake
definition
people
of
are-
color, to read the definition from color from the law dictionary again, it says color. An appearance, semblance, or simulacrum as distinguished from that which is real. Right? So it's a deceptive appearance, assumed exterior, concealing a lack of reality, a disguise or a pretext. So us labeling ourselves as colored people puts us all underneath that category.
As something fictitious.
Are you got it?
Kenta, you want to say something?
Yeah, To just dovetail off everything Moore said, the fact that, like, your concept is right as far as black being a unifying term for all people, but however, it's detrimental if you don't know the right term. It's excusable, but when it's been brought to your attention and you know right from wrong, you automatically, as soon as you get the concept, you have to change your mindset. You have to change your thoughts, because you have to look at it from the perspective of your mother named you. If someone else called you something else, you wouldn't adhere to that, right? Because they're disrespecting your mother, and they're disrespecting you, and they're disrespecting your spirit. So you have to look at it from the perspective of, since your mother named you, no one can come after your mother and brand you, and then you accept it. You will only accept it if you're under duress, threat, and all that stuff, and so on and so forth. So you have to look at it, the term Moor and the term black and all that stuff. But more the term Moor deals with a family name. So as far as belonging to a family, if you don't accept or adhere or respond to your family name, you're out the will. You know, you cannot come forward and claim anything because that is not your name in the lawful and legal document. So black is not us. It's not in our will. It's not in our ancient records. It's not us. So automatically, and I know it's hard for people to break away from it, but we cannot attach ourselves to something that is dead, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So yeah, it sounds great in the music, I'm black and I'm proud. We all got down to it, but we didn't know better. But now we know better. We have to do right and act right. It's long.
So I just wanted to respond. I was trying to, when I was introducing this level of knowledge to my mother, who grew up, I guess, in the 60s and 70s, when there were other names that we were identified by, much more derogatory. And I remember talking to her about how black was all of these things. She says, well, you weren't there when we were calling ourselves Black Power and Black Panther, and all these people. I started to look at this from the perspective that black, when I talked to my mother, connected was to the universe, to that all, to the power of creation. So what I've started to see is that one of, I think, the dangers is letting someone else identify us. Calling ourselves black on a connotative level may not have been an issue. It is an issue when we get to it denotatively. Ultimately, black power at that time was a step up from being called coon, nigger, negro, and all those things. So black power at that time was something that was looked upon as advancement and power. And I think there was an energy behind that. Ultimately, what I have, I think, seen as the problem is letting someone else identify us, whatever it is. Because when you were talking about a name, Kenta, you called me Fat Boy. Remember? That's a nickname. Nicknames and those kind of names, names that we love, are things that, to me, aren't problems. As long as there's, you know, there's some certain songs will say, you know, if my homie calls me nigger, that's not a problem if a white person calls me nigger. So, but we understand that the higher levels to those things are where the problem are. But ultimately, I've seen almost black, I think, and this is some of the stuff I've seen, that the colonizer continues to shock us to see where exactly we are. So black was a response at that time to the fact that the stuff was coming down the pipe for them. So they gave us back that universal power in a fraudulent way. But I think still it was part of who Joe always reminds us. We were all at one time black. Right. Right? So I saw that perspective.
Really though? Like, I think the term, sorry to call you, but the term, like the energy and the idea behind that word, yes, we were. But that word itself has nothing to do with that dark energy.
But it excuse me,
It doesn't. It's called carbon, hydrogen, or it's called soot.
Like, I mean, I don't know if that even matters.
Not all
I don't know.
black.
Like, did it come from us? Because a lot of things
As far as the term?
Yeah, from the other side, I always hear people say, Caucasians always say, oh, I give up, I don't know what to call you people anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, because they're always
Call me
changing,
again.
it's more.
always changing
Yeah,
our
how about my
identity.
name?
But I think, but this is the question, the question is identity and self-determination, right?
Right.
So this is why we're here, we need our identity, we need our self-determination to determine what we want, who we wanna be, who we wanna identify as, so that's important. But I think that, you know, is there no, I think I understand that, you know, we have to claim our heritage and go back to the source. There's power in that, in claiming that our family heritage. But if that word black came from us and was used, you know, for power and for numbers,
Yeah.
like,
But-
because
but-
I still
but-
have this issue where I'm Caribbean and I'm teaching quote unquote, you know, African dance, and Africans from, you know, who are not from the diaspora, who are from the motherland,
Yeah.
you know, question that. So why is it, like, why is it always questioned when I claim my heritage? Is
Right,
it
but-
because, if we both identify as black, would it be okay? Like,
Well,
is
see,
there
think
nothing
about-
positive about being called black?
I think to a large extent it's probably questioned because so much misappropriation has been taking place. Like, you know, as I'm thinking about this, being called black, to many people, it's like being called the N-word.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Being, because it's not something, and I can't imagine that we would have called ourselves black. I mean, again, very little,
Just
it's
because
hard.
but we did,
Hey! Here, Toka.
we did call ourselves
Ah,
black.
let's go.
And we finally, as we do call ourselves nigger and all those
Let's
other
look.
things,
As
but
well.
I think we do those things, I think we do those things because as a way of appropriating
Mitigating
ourselves.
Yes, I agree with you totally there. But what I do have to say is even to today, I still see, I'm a black man, you know, I mean, these kind of things, and I cringe. I can't use the term black anymore, but I think it's a part of that evolution. So part of me is
We
realizing.
take ownership of our identity.
Right, that's the whole point.
No, you can't use it against me, I'll use it, I'll say
It's trying to empower yourself within that, within how you know.
But taking it and turning it into something positive.
Right.
John, any other question?
Yeah, black, where that come from?
You got the etymology up there?
Okay, I didn't pull up the etymology yet, but still to answer your question here, blackamoor, right?
No, but what else?
I'll go black
We're
first.
gonna go,
Black.
but I don't have the etymology right in front of me.
Black, more blacker, which one?
Eh?
Yeah,
They
just
say
the black.
black or black.
Black and then black amor, it's like one word, black amor.
Oh,
One
so
word, right?
black is one word, and amor is another word.
No, it's one word called black amor.
Oh,
I think-
Okay, so let me just put it on the record here. So a blackamoor is in the dictionary that is a noun, which means any dark-skinned person, right? Any dark-skinned person is a blackamoor. So someone coming from Pakistan or any of these places that are dark, that would be a blackamoor. And then they tell you it's also an African Negro. But if you ask, all of us as African friends, here's a man from Africa right here, right? Does anybody in Africa call themselves Negroes? No. You're from Africa. Where are the Negroes?
I don't even know that word.
Well, yeah, the Negroes are people in the diaspora,
Yeah.
right?
As far as you know and what you were taught, Negroes are not in the continent of Africa, they're more or less on this side, if anything, right?
Right. So if the African Negro, we refer to people from the diaspora, that means us so-called black people in the West, we're the black ones. And then black is the adjective, compound word joined to the word more, which is a noun, right? It's the adjective describing the noun. So really, the noun is our description. We're Morse. So that's a fact. You know, and then to go back to etymology of black, we could look that up and see that it comes from a word meaning the same as bleach, meaning to lighten, meaning pale. You know, like I have my little son, we looked it up and he said, Dad, the etymology of black means pale. I said, yeah, that's right. So he said, well, Dad, what's the etymology of pale? I said, I don't know, let's look it up. So when we look it up, etymology of pale is European. So you can do the connection. They're black people. It's a fact.
Literally, that's why I'm saying that word, what we're equating it to, does not equate to that triple darkness what we want to talk about, darkness in the universe, the essence. It doesn't, that word doesn't equate to it. You gotta use melanin, you gotta use carbon hydrogen molecule, or you gotta use soot. Look up the word soot and then find out the definition of the root of that word.
So as soon as we, whether the acceptance of it on our part is based in ignorance. It's not based in, we have sound logic, reasoning. It's based on, somebody said so, all right, I guess that's what we are. You know, we're the darkest one, so I guess we're the black people. But then when you go to the historical perspective and you find out that the etymology of black is pale, and then we're not pale people, and then going back to what we were talking about earlier with the wars between the Moors and the Christians, and you find out that they were really the black slaves, pale slaves, pale Slavics. We weren't the Slavics. We were actually the masters. And then they switched the roles, started calling ourselves black. We adopted it, so then obviously if we're the blacks now, then somebody else is the master, not us. And then they've been running with that. While we run over this direction with the black thing. Thinking that, you know, like we're saying, it means that, you know, black is the majority, and black is who we are, and black is behind the stars is blackness, and the moon is black, and all these things are relative to black, but all those things have nothing to do with identity. Zero. As soon as you say black as identity, you're looked at, you're warped in the mind. Because people are not identified by adjectives, people are identified by nouns.
But if you're into reason, it's confusing once you call the color.
Right, exactly. And even if we go one step further, black is not even a primary color, it's a shade. So now we're saying we're a color, but then we're saying that we're black, when that's a shade. Who's crazy to the world? Who doesn't know the primary colors? If you don't know the primary colors, then and then when we look at our conditions of our people, now it makes sense why we're the ones on the bottom of the ladder, always bending down for the guy to use us to get on the ladder.
If we internalize that we're black.
That we're black.
Can I?
Who the hell fight?
Yeah,
Okay.
Make it fight.
No, I have noticed something different.
You had something else? Or
Yes,
Yeah.
You want, all I was gonna say is I think what we can hear, I think we're at a certain level where maybe what we can understand is that the real issue is how are we learning? What are we learning? And that, I think, is much, and who's teaching us?
Who's teaching?
I think that's much more the issue than what we're talking of. This stuff to me is almost like preschool stuff, understanding those things. We can get into that. That's why I think all of us here as intelligent people can evolve from that and move on to maybe understanding why we have allowed this to happen.
Go ahead.
Everything Omar said is right and exact, to the point of, we were taught, you know, we were, as they say on the word education, the root of it means to draw out. So when you consider drawing out, as Joshua said, the kingdom is within you. So you're pulling out your potential, your godly potential, your spiritual potential, and comprehending that spirit is the mightiest of all. It is creation. Everything has a spirit, which means it has an essence, starts from somewhere. So the power of the word, and I think our real downfall is not comprehending the importance of the word. Because when you think of a word, you don't think of the letters, you see images. So when you're seeing the image, you know, a lot of people will say, okay, well, I'm black. No, we're dark, you know, because if you listen very carefully to how we're going back and forth and just building, you know, you'll hear black and then dark. Black and dark. Black is the one that's, but in your mother's womb it's dark. In space it's dark, triple stage darkness. So it's the power of the word, because first thought, then word, then action. So what most of us growing up, what we were taught, we were not taught the importance of the seed of the word, and again, etymology and all that stuff dealing with linguistics and language. So I think the key is you have to consider when you, and again, I'll have to say, when you know better, do better. You know, don't backslide. And we're all guilty. I'm guilty of it. I'll be the first person. I'm king backslider right here. But just being aware of it, you know, you have to be aware. You know, you have to develop the potential to be in the situation, be in your body, and be outside of your body. So see the whole thing happening, 360, 720, keep on spiraling up. Because once you understand that you're actually creating, your thoughts are being sent out there based on the sound vibration you're using, and then creating that image. It's only a matter of time to your physical body, because matter is the lowest dense. So when it takes you time to get to your idea, and it takes time for your idea to get to you. So it's the same thing as when you call yourself black. We all grew up with you know, I don't want to say superstition, but I'll say superstition, as far as, you know, the evils out there and the fears and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, we're creating our own demons. So every time we stamp the black on us, I'm black, I'm Negro.
But here's the story. I mean, at whatever age you are until whatever age you become relatively enlightened, right? We're stuck with this whole idea that people define us. Like, for example, I don't come up with my name, you didn't come up with your name. Nobody usually comes up with their name. People define you, right? Anywhere from your parents to your community and so on and so forth. And as such, what ends up happening is that one would like to think that in terms of being defined, if you're defined in a sincere way, one that's not damaging, then you won't have the issue that you're having with being called black or nigger or any one of the number of terms that are ascribed to us. As a result, what we then need to do is to empower ourselves. I think this is the part we're saying, is we need to empower ourselves and have it from the time where me and I got, look at how we're educated. In order to get to where we need to be. I stop and think of I'm an educator, as I've educated, and one of the things I always do is to try to, when I talk to my students, to say, they often come to me and they're from China and they have the name of Carol or something totally unrelated. Or actually, I'll give an example of one young lady. She has the name, I'll say Lucy, but in fact she has a name, and I think when you stop and think of it, her grandparents gave her that name that said, you know what? The most beautiful one born today. And I'm not going to say it for confidentiality, but for the ease of simplicity and basically how does the term I'm using here, to identify that person with the uniqueness that's them. In order to be accepted in this culture, she has to go by the name Lucy. And when you ask her, well, what's your, tell me the name, your indigenous name, and you hear it and you think, holy smokes, there are people who care about you and think of you and thought about giving you this name. Yeah, it may be a challenge to pronounce, but you know what, if anybody really respects you, they'll take the damn time and do so in a very well-meaning and appropriate way.
But that has to come from her.
No,
But also-
but she wants to go, we also want to be accepted, right?
Exactly.
In order to go up to be accepted, you go with the flow, so yeah, I'm a nigger, man.
I just,
Or I'm black, man, you know?
right before we walked in, we went through the exact same thing you're talking about with the cab driver who just dropped us here. I asked him his name and he told me Max. I go, no, what's your name? And then he told me, he said, so people relate.
That's
That's why
where we
we
go.
go Max.
1.2.
You have a point there, brother?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's a very good example, but my only thing with the thing like that is, they're not a group of people that when they leave the home, they're not confused about who they are. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
they can come from China and come here, and they can use that name to quote unquote get accepted.
And go back
But at
to
the end of the day, they know exactly who they are.
It's a new community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we leave the home, we have 50 million names for us because we don't know who we are. I think that's worth the real change.
Yeah, they're taught how to navigate
Yeah.
in both jurisdictions.
Now, to dovetail on what you just said, you are right, in my opinion, to a certain point. And the reason why I'll say that, because you said people name you, people identify you, or your parents, but when you really look at it, from where you came from, the spirit gave your mother, your grandmother, whomever, because there's that connection, your name, so that when you take your first breath, you are ready to do your duty. So when we try to fit in, and again, you're not your body, it's just a vessel. So you're not from you're in the world, but you're not of it. So these are the things that were kept from us and prevents us from right and wrong. Because I totally get what you're saying. You want to belong. You want to belong. But you are godlike, created in the image of God. So God belongs any and everywhere. As long as you are entrenched in who you are in the spirit, you know better. And that's one of the things that's missing for a lot of us, that spiritual aspect, that connection with the invisible, with the ancestors on the other side. So that's why we have to honor who we are. We cannot, just, and again, I'll have to say it again, know better, do better. I know it's about the spiritual world, so I have to adhere to the spiritual world. I have to adhere to, just the ancestors, honor. So to say, to fit in, and I'm not talking what you're saying, I totally get where you're coming from. But we have to correct it. You are who you say you are. You are not who someone tells you you are. Because even though your parents may name you, you have the choice to add on to your appellation, to bring that energy closer to.
But that usually is an after fact once you come to some realization.
Yeah, that's true. But again, if you know, like you said, you're an educator, right? So technically, after you go home tonight, Monday, you got to be on point. You deal with your family, you got to be, because you know better. We shouldn't go back to where we came from if we know it's wrong. And I know it's difficult, but at the same time, that awareness always has to be at the forefront. Always has to be at the
I
forefront.
have to say one thing, one more thing to that, is that like the Orientals and most other peoples, they didn't go through what we've gone through. And so it's a little less challenging to do so. So yeah, as soon as we could we could say they won't call him Lucy at the moment. Then she goes up, or she just the time she walks out the door, she'll go, and she goes back to, she knows she has her family to back her up, and she has her thousands of years to back her up, right? Whereas us, because we were screwed around for 100 years, right? And memories are like genes, right? And they're pretty recent. And because we've been so screwed around the last couple of 100 years, it's going to take a while. One of the things that we often should look at is how we hear we talk about the Truth and Reconciliation for Native Canadians. If you want to get a sort of a snapshot of what happened to us, but not not as much time removed, look at what happened to the native Canadians when they talk about residential schools. And you're being ripped away from your family, you're being ripped away from your culture, you're just being ripped away. Imagine that, you're being told you can't even speak your language, you can't even, don't even like, she's a woman, you can't, you're a man, they treat you like you're a bull, they castrate you if they don't want you to breathe.
The exact same thing that happened to us. What's up? We don't really recognize it.
Yeah.
Going back to the name thing again, 1 second, Tucker. Just going back to the name thing again. My mother named me from, because they used to go to Regal Theater in Jamaica and watch all the old cowboy movies, right? So she named me off one of the cowboys that was on, you know, John Wayne and Clint Eastwood back in the day. So they were miseducated, right? And so they didn't really they didn't know how to tie us with a name that was tearing us back to our culture in the West here. So they gave us names that they saw the Europeanized.
But then now when we look at like Brother Kenta was saying, the spirit connection, right? All the original cowboys were us, not some Europeans. So Mom was right and exact, naming him after a cowboy. She might not have really been there, but there was some type of spiritual, you know what I mean, divine intervention.
This sister over here has been trying to say something.
I got her in.
I'll be short and sweet. This sister here asked, did we call ourselves black or did someone else, right? This is my answer. We never call, we're sitting in a room all together. When I go home, I'm not going to say I was in a room full of black people. If we were the first people on the planet, we're not going to say I met a black man today, I met a black woman today. I met a man, I met a woman. So we called ourselves Moors. They decided through their colonial agenda that they were going to give us the misnomers. By attaching black a Moor, that was the segue into calling us black. We never called ourselves black. The other thing is, you know, this whole thing, this whole history thing, this black history, really, any time, and this goes probably for everybody in this room until very recently for most of us, when you hear the word slave, who do you think of? Answer honestly. Who do we think of when we hear the word slave?
Yeah, you think you're talking about us dark skin.
And that has nothing to do with us, but there you go. And then when we're talking about the native people, first of all, they're not indigenous, we are. Nobody I know, nobody I've ever met, and I've been around for a while, has ever been here in this part of the world longer than my family has. And I'm not pale-skinned with the hair. So the reason they're going through what they're going through is because they don't know who they are either. Or they're trying to be something that they're not Indians. Indians come from India or Hindustan. So
well, they don't actually, interestingly,
Kenta was talking about spirit.
That term. That's a term.
They don't anymore.
Yeah, that's a term.
First Nation?
Them, but no,
Native? Are they First Nation? No, they're not. They call us the ancient ones because when they got here, we were already here. They met us here, you see. So Kenta was talking about spirit. We all talk about etymology. We all talk about word, sound, and power. It's very, very, very important that we call ourselves, and it's not difficult, and it doesn't take that long. As soon as you know, like Kenta said, you'll do better. If we keep running around and every 10 years changing ourselves, the prophet came 100 years ago and he told us, right after Reconstruction, and all those other terms that they threw on us, this is who we are, this is where we're from, etc., etc. But we've had too many people come before him and since him to tell us, no, you're not, because then it keeps us in this quagmire. He's black, he's a Trini, she's from Jamaica, they're Africans, and then everybody's doing their own thing. We were Moors long before we were any of those other things. And if we can't, if we can't understand that, recognize it, and acknowledge it, and accept it, then we're going to keep going through this song and dance. And it's a waste of time, and it's a waste of energy.
Okay, have a bite?
Yeah, like Charlie here said, African name or English name, that's not a right we're fighting for. We already have that right.
Sorry, what did you say? Say it again? Say it again?
Yeah.
I said tolerance and African or English name is not a right we're fighting for, because that right is already given to us.
Right.
By Haile Selassie.
Right.
He's the one who gave us all the
And
right.
others.
Not just talking. That's
And
political,
others.
that's political intelligence. politically, he gave us our rights.
But it's and others. It's not just him, and others.
No, the Bible tells us only him, he will not give that power to another.
We're born with those rights,
He
my
will only
boy.
give
Nobody
that
gives
power
them to us, we're born with those rights. They're birthrights.
Birthright is something that we're born with. So no one gave us birthright. Birthright is something that,
I'm just saying,
yeah, we give it
our rights, we have those rights. and
right. The reason we have those rights is because you're born with those rights. Those are your birthrights. The birth that your mother brought you, right, into the
For
world.
independence, you couldn't name your child African in the West Indies. Because my father couldn't name us African names, that to get named like
Right,
Ray.
they just told you this man's from Africa, and he's just telling you that we're not really necessarily African. They don't consider us African in terms of like being from the continent, like that there's any, that's where it's said, we're
That is
Congolese.
the point of view, but I've heard,
No, most,
the
That's
sound,
any
and
African.
I've heard all them, and they say we are there, they see us as African.
Okay, good point, good point.
This typifies.
Hold on, Morris,
What's going on?
hold on,
Morris,
Morris,
Morris
guys, hold on.
typifies the
One second, one second.
subsidized
Hello?
world.
I think we should all just, let's keep the decorum, right? One person talking and one person.
You got a comment or a question?
Yeah, let's change the whole perspective of the conversation about black and who's not black and who's on the right or who not. I should know for the unit of blackness of the black people. Did the Moors have any money? Did the Moors have any gold? Did the Moors have any currency? So we can trace ourselves to that currency, and that's what I'm about.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait,
As of right now?
No, as in actually to know. If you can follow that.
Yes, I can.
So wait, hold on. I wanted to say the question again. The question is what? Sorry, the question you're asking again?
All right, simple. Hold on. Did the Moors have any currency? They had any money? Did they have any wealth? If they went around the world and went everywhere, and they were all kind of tribes, all kind of people, right? Did they have any currency?
Please, God, hold on, what do you consider a Moor though? That's what I want to know.
What I consider more?
Yeah.
Hold on. First time I heard more is about this year
Okay,
or last year.
okay.
Before all of that more, we never really put my ear to that, you know, as in black people.
You asked a good question,
No,
though.
I want to ask him one question.
Let me
before
put this
that.
on the record. Let me put this on the record. You asked in terms of what the Moors are. Simple. If you go into your Google and you just type in the richest man in the world, it's gonna bring up right. Oh, he was known as a Malian Moor. Right. To this day, he's known as the richest person that ever lived, walked the earth. Was a Moor.
Right.
History.
I want to know the currency. They have any money.
Gold.
Gold, right?
Gold and land.
Gold currency, right?
What he's basically asking, seems like to show you a coin with Julius Caesar face on it. Is there a coin with that man face on it?
But those
That
things
you
are
can
just
trace?
script.
Yeah, that was.
Those are script, that wasn't money, that was in the
nonsense.
place of
That's
money.
The question I'm asking, he's asking a question,
Yeah.
is there a coin that we could trade and say we were there in that time and this was what we were trading?
Yeah,
Because
there's
it's
this
like-
book right here.
All the natural resources around the world.
If you get this book right here,
Answer the question.
Gentlemen,
if you get this book right here, it will outline the whole, the connection that the Moors had to the world, whether it's financially, education, you know what I mean, metaphysically, whatever.
I think what he's asking, like,
Also, with regard to your question, like, whenever Moors are presented, anytime Moors are presented, something always has to be qualified with Moors. But when the black guys were talking, nobody didn't ask them, did the black guys ever have money with the stuff? Or did the Negroes ever have money? Or did, you know what I mean, the Muslims ever have money? It's only with the Moors. But just like Brother Alphonse was saying that, you know, you have, yeah, but again, like, you know, if I had, in ancient times, if I had spices, that was money.
That's money, yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
don't need money.
You know
You know what I mean?
So
Spices, linen, any type of food, livestock,
Anything like
all these things would be considered money.
literature,
Yeah, literature,
poetry,
knowledge,
knowledge.
not necessarily coins or paper or whatever like that. Right? Yeah, currency.
What's wrong with it? Okay, I'm a pair. If a pair means you don't touch pairs, you don't hurt pairs.
Yeah, let you continue. I want to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it.
Citizenship in Morocco may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in other countries, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure mores subjects. So when in Morocco, if you can't prove citizenship from wherever it is that you're from, then you're automatically Moor.
You said it's a subject of.
Citizenship in Morocco may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in other countries, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove foreign citizenship or protections are considered ipso jure mores subjects.
Subjects. Okay.
Subjects of Morocco.
Okay.
Right? So this is where you get into quote unquote conscious black people making the claim that Moors enslaved people. Moors enslaved black people. When you look at the Congo, you see the guys with the fezzes enslaving Congolese. Well, no, they couldn't prove foreign citizenship. So they were subjects. It's not a sense that they were enslaved. When you look at Congo, for example, those were Congolese people wearing these. Those weren't Moors, like in the context of how people see a fez and say those are Moors. Those are Congolese people who were working with Leopold.
Okay, I keep my question.
Those are Congolese people. Congolese is a nationality of people. Yes, they're dark-skinned people. Yes, they can be classified as Moors, but they do have a nationality of Congolese. Congolese people sold out their own people and worked with Leopold to get access to the rubber industry.
Which in turn are still our people.
Right? When you look at the relationship between Europeans or modern Europeans and dark-skinned people in the Americas, above Mexico is Morocco. So if you're here and you're claiming that you're something other than Moroccan, then you're a foreigner here. You're foreign. And if you're foreign and you can't prove your citizenship, which black, you can't prove that. You can't prove color. You can't prove African. You can't prove African Canadian. You can't prove
Negro.
Hebrew. You can't prove Negro. You can't prove Rastafarian. You can't prove Garveyite. Those aren't nations.
No.
Those are tags or labels. So
Or
since you can't
organization
prove who you are, then automatically you're a subject of.
More resident administration governance, the de facto.
You're a subject. Because you're in the jurisdiction. You're in the land of, if you go to Australia, you're not from there, you're going to fall under the rules that regulate there. The people who are from there, that might not be their rules. But if you go there, there's going to be something that you're going to have to follow as far as quote unquote the laws. If you go to Asia, you're not going to go to Asia and then some Europeans have an office there that gives health cards to Chinese people who want free health care in China. So you're not going to find that office there. Because the Chinese are not going to let that happen. Because that's their political jurisdiction. That only they should be giving out cards called health cards, or licenses, or socials, or whatever. Why would a European be giving that out in China? But when you come to America, specifically North America, Europeans are the ones saying, we're the ones giving you passports.
Even though they tell you
We're the ones giving you citizenship.
Even though they tell you they cannot.
They know that. Check. This is the circular logic of our people. That they know that these people are foreigners, but they're going to let them rule over them or tell them what.
Become citizen of what they say.
And this is why we have the situation that we have.
Yeah,
Because what we should have been doing, you know, you didn't even mention it yet, know which one came in 1913. And told us that we're not Negro black colored in 1913. So if we went with the concept that we're not Negro black colored since 1913, where would we be now? How far would we be if we listened to what this man said and adopted his lesson of we're not Negro black colored from 1913 to 2017? Guarantee we wouldn't be where we are right now. Guaranteed. But the fact that we're here means that we didn't pay attention to the lessons. So the next logical thing is pay attention to the lessons.
This is a start.
That's a start. And just like Brother Taylor said, or Kent or whoever, you know, whatever you know, whatever you think you know, put that stuff over here. You're not dissing what you know. I'm not saying what you know is BS, that's why we're saying put it there. We're saying that you don't have the full scope. So put the stuff that you think you know over here and get this information, study this information, then bring what you thought you know and see what matches up with this. If everything that you know doesn't match up with this, don't throw this out and say, oh, I don't know, because my stuff is, and this guy brought me this or whatever. No, we're dealing with truth. We're dealing with logic, we're dealing with common sense. If it doesn't make common sense, it's probably BS if it doesn't make common sense. Just like we tell people, you know, look in the mirror. Are you black? Look in the mirror. No, I'm actually brown. There's tomorrow they go back call themselves black. Clearly, they're not getting the, they didn't get the memo. Like and again, it's going back to the idea of you know, being abused mentally, not accepting the fact that we're being abused, that we got mental problems, right? If somebody has their pants down here, they have mental problems.
That's right.
If somebody's shooting their own brother for sneakers, they have mental problems. Right? If somebody's they got pregnant belly and they're going to the club and drinking and smoking or whatever like that, they have mental problems.
For sure.
It has to be acknowledged that we have mental problems. But you know, like somebody else was saying, you know, we got the biggest egos than anybody else. The last thing we're going to admit is that we have mental problems, because then we're going to have to fix those problems. And, you know, we're looking at daunting tasks to fix our problems. If you want to fix our problems as a people, we're looking at, you got work to do.
Years of
Right?
work to do.
It's a personal exorcism.
And where it starts is getting something into our mind. Because our people die for lack of having knowledge.
Unfortunately, education is becoming like kryptonite for many of us.
Yeah. But again, but it comes back to that same thing of, you know, we don't know what education is. We think education is what we're doing right here. It's not education. Education is the individual putting out.
It's also a spiritual education.
Yeah. But again, the lack of curiosity is based on where we are in our mind. And like I was saying earlier, majority of people, when they engage traders amongst them, they eliminate those people.
Slaughter.
They don't bring those people around to come chill and let them talk on their behalf. And they don't do that with traders. Majority of the quote-unquote scholars that we consider, they're traders. Because one, they told us that we're black. They pushed that as an idea, and we ran with it out of ignorance. But these people who are called scholars were the ones that are supposed to keep us not ignorant. So how are we ignorant when we got all these scholars? How we don't know ourselves when everybody's going to list off 10 people that they consider their scholars. And everybody's going to have 10 different people. And we still have this stuff together? Clearly somebody's been playing with us. If we don't have it together yet, somebody's been messing with us. And if we check the record, we realize that it's our own. And then if we check the record, we realize that even though it's our own, we never do nothing about it. We still tell them, yeah, come on down, give us lectures and stuff like that, when they're not even about that. They have an agenda to keep our people down in their mind. And like we said last time we came here, this information is not going to happen because we had a lecture And then everybody's gonna, you know, all these seats are gonna be full and everybody's gonna be leaving here like, yeah, $1 reservation, we can. Nah, man. All seats are, just call it go to rain or whatever. But guaranteed, you know, NBA or you know what I mean? Dance party or whatever like that. Oh, you got a line up going around the building to go to some New Year's party. $100 a head or whatever. This is free.
That's what black people do.
You know what I mean? But we're gonna do the best that we can.
Black
I was
people
just
love
gonna
us to
say,
party.
don't care how much knowledge you have, you know something, but as creatures of habits, we still tend to do the wrong thing, yeah? Our colonizers, they know once something is embedded in us, it stays there, and it's hard to come out, it takes great discipline. And that's what we really need to go after, is discipline. When I was a little boy, I heard them say, once something is embedded in you, past 6 years old,
You got it. You're not moving it.
so to really, knowledge, and knowledge is always current. You could know something and forget it. So to maintain knowledge is like maintaining your body with food. It's like eating every day. You really have to take a discipline and a study to really do that. And to get yourself in order to become a master of self, I self-God.
That's where it starts. And that's why, you know what I mean, like, it's not, you know, like, me and Omar talk about this all the time. When we have these type of things and then it gets crazy or whatever like that.
Yeah, it's
You know, it's like,
maintaining
our people got problems, our people got issues. And the only thing that we can do is allow them to perform that exorcism like brother's talking about. They have to vomit on themselves a little bit to realize that they're sick. Some of them are going to realize, some won't.
Also, two people driving and they get in an accident, it's always one person's fault, but both suffer the accident.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean?
Good point.
And acknowledging that it's one person's fault.
Usually.
The one that's at fault, most of the time, is going to try to tell the other guy that he's the one that did it. It goes back to the discipline, not taking responsibility.
The discipline.
Right? Because you have to be of a disciplined mindset to even be able to take responsibility.
Even with food, eating regularly is much better than eating irregularly. So the discipline of knowledge, every day you get up and feed that knowledge to maintain yourself. It's not an easy thing, but it's something.
It's not. It is a challenge, but again, it's a challenge because of our people.
Yep.
More so not wanting to accept truth and facts. Everything has to be proved to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like again, we use the example of you know, with black people or whatever, right? You know, as far as the spectrum of the room, you and Sister Mocha are probably the closest people to black in here. Because black means pale. Pale.
Pale.
Black doesn't mean dark. Right? Right? You know what I mean? Like, if we look at, even when we're talking about the thing about Morocco, right? Above Mexico being Morocco. That's a historical fact.
That's right.
Because above Mexico, they say is the United States. Those people don't call themselves United States yet. They'll say American. Why are they saying American? Why are they saying that I'm American? Right? This is why they're saying that they're American.
Energies.
Well, we don't get it.
For the past 5 minutes, that's what the word I've been on, America and American.
Right? American.
Right? So America, number one, United States of America, right? North America, South America, so this is a different definition now, right? So America, the first one is United States of America. The second one is North America. The third one is South America. Fourth, North America, Central America, and South America together. In this sense, often called the Americas, right? Now, American, number one, of relating to or characteristic of the United States of America. It's people. Okay, this is one sentence still, so I'll read it again. Of relating to or characteristic of the United States of America, its people, culture, government, and history. Right? Second one, of, in, or pertaining to North or South America or the Western Hemisphere. Number 3, of or pertaining to the Indians inhabiting America. Number 4, indigenous to North or South America, often used with plant and animal names, and then it gives certain examples. Right, like, so the example like American elk, certain things like that. Is that clear?
Right, so they're gonna identify themselves as American when they're in a so-called landmass called United States, which they should be calling themselves United Statesian. It's no different than with
us right here.
no different with when you look at even with Rastafarians. They should really be called Haile Selassie.
Yeah, so that's his name.
Because that's really who they're looking at as.
I agree.
They're not looking at the guy who didn't get the coronation. The guy who didn't get the coronation is Rastafari.
Yeah, the higher self.
But they shouldn't be calling themselves him.
Higher self.
They should be calling themselves Haile Selassie.
No, it's right. In terms of,
right?
When I'm not defending that we want to call ourselves Rastafarian, but when he was crowned king, the prophecy was a king will be crowned, not an emperor. So a king was crowned, and when he was crowned king, he was called Rastafari.
Right.
Digas Rastafari, which is the king, King Rastafari, because he was first king, regent to Queen Empress Dolly too. So he was crowned king. So and prophecy
the
was
power
yes.
is based on the coronation.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
But
When they go have Bingi and all that stuff, it's because of coronation and all that.
no, what I'm saying is the prophecy that told
Yeah.
kings who to the east was a king will be crowned, not an emperor will be crowned.
Right.
So the emperor is the absolute, yes.
Right.
I understand. So I'm not saying that we should be
But
called.
remember that emperor supersedes king.
I agree.
Emperor has more power than a king.
Yes, I agree.
So you should ride with where the power is at.
No, but the
where
power is still within the same person. It's not like it wasn't like Rastafari.
So it was just a name.
It's just a title.
It's just a title.
Regulation.
It's like higher self and
Yes. No, but I'm not disputing that we should call ourselves.
Whichever, right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in terms of the prophecy of Garvey.
Right.
Look to the east, a king will be crowned, not an emperor. So a king was crowned and his name was Rastafari at that time. So therefore the people took on to themselves the name of the king. And then 2-3 years after, he was now crowned. Because 1928 he was crowned, 2-3 years after he was crowned emperor, which is now a new title again. Right? And so if they got another title, let's say when you went to Jamaica, they're calling now the God, Almighty God. So we should be calling it, we should be called, I'm just saying that we couldn't be calling ourselves the Almighty God along with him. In terms of calling him that. Like, but in terms of prophecy, yes, it's fulfilled. It was the name of the prophecy being fulfilled. But nationality-wise, it's not a nationality. Okay, so it's not a nationality. We're not going there. It's not a nationality.
And then to say also too relative to the American definition, when you go to an older dictionary, it's going to tell you that the copper-colored natives who were here before the Europeans came here are the Americans.
But this one is at least better than more modern. The modern will tell you people who were born in the United States.
Anybody born.
So, combating black history, then are you saying to us that the miseducation, which is of course they're making us read the books and educate us, of course, they put us in these schools, of course. So we should be now getting the definition and applying the definition to our daily.
Yeah, and not teaching them just from one point in history.
Yeah, like making it like pretty much like the Christians do it. The Christians will tell you something, but they're not telling you what's in the Bible. They tell you what they're saying. And when you read the Bible, it says this is the real thing. That no, that's not what you're saying. You were saying not to do this, but in the Bible it said this. So I'm saying.
But it goes again with it's the origin, the original definition is where you want to go. Right? The unabridged definition. So it's just like with how you bring up the Bible.
Yeah.
Nobody that says that they follow the Bible and read the Bible and have faith in the Bible, they should have a metaphysical Bible dictionary. Because the Bible is a metaphysical book. It's not
literal.
It's not literal.
That's right.
Allegories.
It's an allegorical book. So if it's allegory, then that means it's dealing with a higher perspective than just what's being read on the paper.
So unabridged, you said, so that's the where we should start at.
Yeah, unabridged is untampered.
Oh.
Untampered definition is what we should be dealing with. So when we read American, that American definition is tampered because they have 4 different things saying what American is.
Yeah.
But then when you go to the origin, or if you go to the unabridged definition, it's just gonna tell you one thing. The copper colored people who were here before Europeans.
So are you saying also that that goes along with the studying, because when they're, like, let's just a simple example. So they want you to drive, but they don't want you to say travel.
Right.
So I'm saying is, so basically then, everything is a play on the words.
Yeah. That's why I'm
So would it be fair to say that the European came here and see us and established a jurisdiction among us?
How we established the jurisdiction among us? The right word.
So they use words then and establish a jurisdiction.
That's how they established jurisdiction.
Okay.
By word. That's why we have to know what we're saying when we talk to them. Among us, we can say black and Negro and all that stuff. Negro, we're talking about English. As soon as you go out in society, you start saying black and all that, they're looking at you as
when you come into the jurisdiction, I think I don't based upon how they establish themselves. They welcome you into the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And you willingly come in.
Yes.
right.
That's like, you know when they say assume the position?
What's another word for willingly?
Consent.
Another word for willingly.
Consent.
Volunteer.
So when they say, welcome to Canada,
Start now.
and you say, how was your trip? Welcome to Canada, you just hand in the document and come right into Canada.
Yeah.
Especially if you're from like the West Indies or Jamaica or any place, you never really went nowhere. You're still in the same
You're still
jurisdiction.
in America.
You're still in America, but they're
No,
trying to trick you,
no,
make you think you went somewhere else.
You just recognize that jurisdiction. You didn't say, you didn't declare who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so now you fall into that.
They just fell into it. Just by volunteering.
You think the copper colored people in America have the same rights as regular white American?
Well,
Yeah,
Like right now, it's today.
Yeah. They don't have the rights on paper, but
When you say copper tool, who are you referring to?
well, the definition you get read was
Americans, our people.
Well, no, he's saying in our older dictionary it says copper tone. This one it says, quote unquote, the Indians or the indigenous, right?
But
Which is still the copper tone.
I
So,
put it
it's
this
still
way,
copper tone.
the person who
Yeah.
can assume the full rights in America could be called American. But if you can't assume the full rights in America, whether you're copper color or black color, you're not a sort. You can't claim fully American.
If you can't,
You just prove
if
yourself.
you don't have claim to your full rights, you mean, like, then you
You
can't
have
say
claim
that
to your full rights, but you don't get it.
you don't get it for us, and then you can't say you're American.
Yeah, but the reason why we don't have our full rights is because all of us aren't saying we're American.
True.
When we're the copper colored
I'm a
people,
Jamaican.
if we're the copper,
If a right, if we find out that if a right is administered to them, for their color.
rights come from man doesn't give
Are you
people
saying
rights.
all your rights aren't afforded to you because of your phone?
Well, yeah, that's some places, because they say in the states they shoot lots of black people because.
No, exactly. They shoot what people?
Black people.
Exactly.
Their color.
Because black people means you're a chair.
You might call it but you use the word black.
Okay, wait, hold on. I want to answer something. Hold on. Okay, I think that we got onto something. First of all, we got to unabridged, which means untampered, and then we're saying they're playing with words, which give them the jurisdiction, and then we said that willfully, and then he said the new word, the words, what willfully means voluntary. So what I'm going to say is this now. And you also said, among ourselves, we can say what we want to say, but we know what we're talking about. Communication means you're clear. But when we're going outside, we have to make sure we know how to communicate with them.
Right, because out there, So when you go out there, you should know what, just like court, you better know what's going on when you go in there. These people are gonna railroad you.
Okay, so now.
One second, fam. I just want to interject. I don't know, like a year and a half ago, I had my fez on. I just happened to leave court, and I hop on the subway, and I run into a politician. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Tim Hudak.
Yes.
You guys ever heard of Tim Hudak?
Conservatively.
Yeah, so
He's from Toronto.
so I have my fez on.
Farm.
So I'm on the train and we're just talking about our children. And, you know, and then you mentioned my hat. And I mentioned the fact that I'm a Moor. And he's like, yo, Morocco, eh? It's like, I've always wanted to go there. And I looked at him and I said, this is Morocco. And the way everything was so divine, the door opened, and the man looked at me and goes, I know, and walked out.
Okay, wow. I was gonna say to you, when they come to you.
So you have to know, you're always in court, because he tried to trick me. I've always wanted to go to Morocco to see where my head was at.
You see those books? Each definition is valid, and will always be valid, because it's a jurisdiction that's been established. So when they come to you, you need to know in which jurisdiction they're talking to you with.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Sometimes you swear you're on the land and they have you out in the sea.
And that's part of what the Moorish Empire is about, in uplifting humanity. Not just knowing spiritually where we're at as a people, but to also know the laws of the land, because we have to go outside of our houses and conduct certain business. If you do not know law, then you will be lost. You will be subject to people giving you a certain name or whatever that doesn't allow you ties to certain rights that we're born with.
Because they're the one who should always identify themselves. Because we are, I am.
My name is my name.
And like the name, but it's straight around. We always have to identify ourselves.
Don't think court just applies to that, establishing that we know where we're going to. That's why they call certain places where you live a courtyard. It's all relevant.
Whole court.
Yeah. I want to know who printing these literature books and definition and everything.
Probably some European.
That what?
What?
Okay, question, your question, girl.
But remember that all Europeans were taught by the Moors.
Okay, so you want to say these.
So don't think that because a European wrote a book means that that's their, like we taught European bias.
No, it's not about being biased, it's just being objective. I'm just saying who print these books.
Okay.
So would it make sense then, I see you guys with your mortgage ID cards, would it make sense then for all of us to have our mortgage ID cards?
Nationality card, yes.
You're a Moor.
All Moors.
Yeah.
Regardless of your,
And
okay,
then the more people they see with that, then the more they can look at it and not look at it and feel like you're foreign or you're some alien to us on this land. They will more come to the realization that this is who we are, and they will recognize it and have to respect it.
Because if we look at it like the landscape that we're in right now is based in you better have ID. That's what's going on right now.
It's a description.
Like, you better have something to show who you are. Because there's a passport, driver's license, whatever you need to show something. As Aboriginal indigenous people or Moors, we have a right to identify ourselves.
They define it as identity by description as opposed to acquaintance.
Right.
Nobody don't know it, so you better have.
So you should have something
to describe
who it is you are. You know.
Original Moors come from.
Where the original Moors come from?
Yes.
All over the world.
No, the first Moor, like Adam and Eve.
All over the world. because ancient Egyptians are Moors.
But I listen to the
Kushites
computer
are
and I listen to this guy called Zero on TV and the internet.
Yeah.
And he's saying the Moors are these people that come and push the people in Africa from one end to the next and back and mix up everybody. That's why you have those names, all deal, and this guy saying, but that one is Ethiopia. Or that is that.
Yeah,
And
they're
that
all
one
the
is
same.
Arab.
What was wrong with
Because
that?
they're all the same
What was
people.
wrong with
Regardless
us
of
mixing if
Ethiopian,
we're all the same
Because
people?
they're all the same people.
Yeah,
Canadian,
but what they did is push everybody in one.
Because everybody is one.
Mix up the culture.
It's not a mix.
There was 6 different black people in Africa, not one black people. 6 different kind of black people.
How is it 6 different?
How is it 6 different if all of them look the same?
Families are tribe.
There are 6.
If all of them look the same, how is it 6
You have the
different?
Neolithic black, then you have they remember all that, but you have 6 different black people.
They're different because of what?
No, they
Features? Features make them different?
features.
Okay.
So they push this white German,
I'm saying
them more. Okay. Push the black people and mix up themselves with the black people.
Or a Moorish group
Hey,
that.
so
You
that's
see,
why
they
I'm so
mix
black.
up themselves with black
That's how
people.
we became slaves.
Actually, they are giants.
That's how we became
The same giants that came and frightened the people and pushed them all one part in Africa
And you're saying
and
those people look
enslaved
like
the whole
who?
Africa.
Well, how the giants
Giants.
look? How the giants look?
Big, strong
Well,
people.
how?
Like they had-
What's their complexion?
Yeah, we were small, right?
Yeah, they were smaller.
I was
They
saying
had
here-
big wrist to buy the
You
tech.
could
Big
really
wrist,
hold on on
big
the
head.
hold on.
Whenever you hear a European story, I'm not saying it's whenever you hear when you're reading any history,
Listen to spookism.
and it sounds like a European story, which is like a fairy tale, you know that it's been translated.
Exactly.
And the translation never makes sense, just like him, the woman born without, baby born without mother.
Oh, Immaculate
The
Conception.
Immaculate Conception.
Yeah.
I mean, when they said that, the talk about sex.
That's what I'm saying, then I put my word carefully.
Yeah.
I said, whenever you read a story, and it sounds like a European story, which is normally sound like a fairy tale.
Yeah, which story are you talking about?
In general.
We're not talking in general. I talk and you talk about that story.
That's what I'm saying
So
to
don't
you.
criticize
Listen,
me.
I'm not
Okay.
criticizing you. I'm just saying to you, when you say you see giants and all these coming to it,
Yeah.
that's telling me that it's someone translating a story, a European translating a story. When they do the translation, normally it sounds unrealistic.
It's not unrealistic
This
because
one I'm-
it's
this one I'm saying to you.
if white tongue fit on his fingers, there's lots of statues and
You look at the NBA
and
players,
bones and skeletons showing that giants.
It's there now.
And these giants come out and
Why they say that?
Shaq is a giant.
Okay, want to say something? You want to say something? Wait, no.
Let's go back to the
Yeah, because
identification.
there's something here. So volunteer, and we're at court. So what I'm saying about court now is this now. So, wait, we gotta order here.
Islam.
Okay,
That
so
shit is
court is not going to the bench and somebody's sitting down in the bench. It's exactly outside.
It doesn't start
It doesn't start
here,
here.
it starts right here in the book.
Yes. So we gotta know, that's what I'm just saying, because you went from under bridge jurisdiction, volunteer,
You're
and
not trying to
then
get
court.
served, shit. You're trying to get
I'm into the, cause we're combating the fraud of black history.
Okay.
So I'm saying is, the conversation is showing you that, yes, words are being used, and we gotta know where it starts. So the word court that was told to us was they're going to court, not knowing court was exactly when you get outside there.
Yeah.
When you're in full, once the contact is made, you're in court, right? So what I'm saying now is, what we're told court is, they're using untampered information, untampered means. So if you went to court, they're using, like for example, the Black Moral Dictionary.
Yeah.
They're using untampered meaning.
Well, they can be using tampered because Black's Law Dictionary is from edition 1 to 10.
Yeah,
12 or whatever.
different jurisdiction, right now.
Watered down version.
Even with the regular dictionaries, You know what I mean? You have the unabridged, then you have the abridged. But over time, they've moved towards using the newer version in order to create their particular jurisdiction, or to justify whatever position
So
that
for
they're
us to
taking.
combat it, we're saying that we have to stick with the unabridged.
Unabridged, yeah.
So what I'm saying now, for us to combat it, we need to unabridge. That means we have to start, like for example, when you say Morocco is above Mexico to that section, right? Up north. So we're up that section.
Right.
Yes.
So we shouldn't be saying
Canada.
we should be saying this.
Right.
So what I'm saying is this is how we can combat these things, like create by translating the vocabulary highway.
Yeah, pretty much.
Islam,
Right? So this is how we combat it. Because if your vocabulary is not on point, as
Then you fall into the
it's all
black
about
sheep.
situation. And they're always, in present state we are now, we're falling into the state which is called a volunteer state.
Right.
Like you say, welcome to Canada.
Consent state.
And you say, thank you.
Yeah. That's what the problem is.
Right?
So you change the people, you have to change the letter for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the Bible, the beginning, what did it say in the beginning of the Bible?
We volunteer into the New Testament before that.
Yeah.
Before that. There was one jurisdiction which was the Old Testament, and there was a new jurisdiction that was created, which is the James, we are reading now, and we went right into that one.
Right.
We're reading that one right now, and that's just the religious aspect of it.
Right.
Really, we're talking about the
Government and religion is one, though.
But remember too, right?
Government and religion is one.
Everybody hold on a sec, hold on a sec. The God's doing the right thing and he's been waiting with his hands up, so he's talking next.
Yes, sir.
Just to continue on that, okay, so you're in their jurisdiction, once they give you your ID and it's stamped by the seat of the Queen or the seat of the President or whatever. So for us to have our right state, or as Joel says, correcting our status, we need to get our proper ID, right?
Right, but getting the proper ID comes with having the proper mindset.
Yeah. Okay, this is what I want you to get to.
Because you can
What is the
compare
process for us to get our proper ID as a people and stop this blasted nonsense that I've been hearing on TV?
And I wanted to address you because you said something before that.
Because you have it, and I want to hear that process. We go through a process together.
Because a lot of-
A passport, a this, a that, and that's all I have. How do I get that identity?
That's
to describe me.
Let me tell you something.
Hey, big man, that's not even enough.
Oh, no, I know.
You want to tell you why it's not a simple one? You want to tell you why it's
But
not
we
a
haven't
simple
got
one?
there yet.
It's called birthright.
Islam.
It's called
We can
birthright.
play around with this. Is what I want to hear.
The thing you want, is birthright. You see my age? I just got mine. You know what I got when I was born? Birth certificate.
Now, you got
I born with birth certificate. Give me birth certificate. You know what I mean? They give me a birth certificate.
No man can give.
That's what we used to come to Canada. Birth certificate, not birthright.
Huh?
Not knowing, but birthright. But if you have that from born. So now, for you get your birthright, this is what kind of process you have to go through.
Well, this is what I really
No, you have an idea what we're talking about?
Oh yes.
Back to baby,
Yeah.
breast milk, formula.
That's possible.
No. If you know what it is.
Born again.
It's like,
Born again.
yeah, it's like born again. Go back to drink breast milk. Because if I get some dumpling now in the knowledge, you cannot. It can't work. Can't work.
So I accept to look at you that's just come out of the womb.
Them are the best one to get it.
Just come on.
You gotta contaminate like me and you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best one to get it, babies there.
Yeah.
That is the process I'm really interested
You want to know the process?
That's
You want to know the process?
That's the process. Yasu na na
I want to, you're addressing what you
Yeah.
said? Okay, I want to do
My
that.
quick thing of the process would be like going back to your custom of your foremothers, and linking yourself back to that.
Yeah.
That's what, so you can get the mindset of who you are, what you are, as opposed to what they're saying you are, or
And
what.
because like even altogether, a lot of us don't even sit down with our grandparents and figure out where it is they come from, what type of things they even practice.
Well,
Before
I'm
we're going back further and further, we're talking about who's who
That's
and
right.
who's proven to be what. Going back to identification and
Right.
proving who you are, it's about again, it's a mindset. So I can be like a new catering company, right? And I have to prove to you my food's good for you to say, accept it and say, you know what, I'm coming back to deal with you again, right? So it's the same way of how you present yourself to government or to, your fellow people in political bodies about who you are and how you're gonna exercise your right to live on this land.
Yeah.
Right now, it's only the so-called black woman can save us. I'm telling you.
That's what we got it.
Yeah.
The quote-unquote black woman is the only one who could save us.
So-called black woman.
Yeah.
But the paperwork process though. I mean,
Did Selassie consider himself black?
Order, please. I'm the loudest person in here. I am the most aggressive. So I want to talk right now. Still, I have something to say to address the black issue.
Come back in the front of black history. That's what we're here for. Let's hear it, man.
Black history.
Your shoes make a point.
What's your name, brother? Or your appellation?
Andrew, they call me.
Andrew? That's all right.
I call myself Berhan.
Meran?
B-E-R-H-A.
Right, okay. So I'm gonna give you an example with the nationality cards now.
Thank you.
You could have it, but like Granchik is saying, it's the knowledge and the individual behind the card and the documents and the paperwork and those things. Because if you don't know, if you can't stand in front and behind that stuff, then it doesn't matter. Like right now, I go into stores with my nationality card, present it, get not taxed. It doesn't happen every time because they're familiar, they have a certain custom like, no, you're not Aboriginal, you're not Native, you're not Indigenous, right? Because they're not familiar with that. Or just by the way I look, or the card I present. This is not issued by the Ontario government, right? So this is not a status card, right? When they punch in the credentials and whatever, then it goes through and they accept. Or some of them have never seen it, so they're just like, well, we're not familiar with this, and then I stand on my ground. If I just said, okay, then I gotta leave their store. But I'm like, are you trying to tell me? You're trying to tell me who I am? You could look at me and tell me I am not Indigenous? So you're trying to tell, you're denying me my right now then.
And that's part of who you are.
Right, you're denying me my right?
Defend yourself.
So
defend
even if,
yourself.
like, the world thinks so, I'm telling you that you can't tell me any different because I'm telling you that.
Yeah.
Right? So then there's times where I go into the store now and like, yesterday, right? Yesterday we were in the store, right? The brother could tell you right now. We're in the dollar store. I didn't even use my national card because it was just a couple cents, right? I purchased my thing. He purchased something too. And then they want to charge extra 5 cents. We have $5. We don't have 5 cents. I'm not breaking up 20 or something for your 5 cents. Okay, you know what? You want to put down? Okay, you know what? Where's my nationality card? And I didn't even pull it out yet. I go, I'm Indigenous. You're Indigenous? Okay, good over. Just go.
So basically, what he's saying, you could have that card, but it really doesn't give you the power.
Yeah,
it's
like
you. It's like this. I could give you a big machine to operate, and you don't read the instructions. Those you
I want to power right now. Today, you could go to a store and tell them you're Indigenous and Aboriginal and fire without showing them anything.
I do it all the time.
And you might get it, but eventually a store will give it to you because you're so confident, like, fuck, he's telling me I'm this. Who am I to tell him he's not? He's very sure of who he is.
You know yourself. You're just talking about 5 cents.
Even the large items, that's buying even lighter, brother.
But then, when it comes to hundreds and thousands of dollars now, and they're going to lose that, and they know that they have to pay that, which they're supposed to do anyway, now they're going to want some documentation because they have to cut, like, right? Because some of them actually have to punch in the number so that it's covered and they don't get taxed. Because some of them, if they just give it to you without punching in and making it official, then the actual store is going to get taxed. So when you're doing that, it's like, okay, it's not taking away anything from me. So that's why when certain merchants try to go on like they're giving me a hard time, I'm like, how is it affecting you right now? Am I taking money out of your pocket or anything? Or resources or your family? No. You know what I mean? So trust me, it comes from studying, and then really, like I was listening to a Moor on one of the DVDs, and he's saying a lot of our people, we're taught by, instead of comprehension, we're taught by regurgitation.
Yeah.
Hearsay.
That's how we learn. So it's just,
we don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
what I
trying to
get
put a
from this
business out
aspect of the Moors for us to rebuild our country. That's it.
Yeah, as a people, to know that
Yeah,
slavery
yeah,
wasn't, that's not our history, that's not all we came from. There was greatness
that's fiction.
before that time, even during the time of when we were being enslaved, there was still greatness. There was quote unquote black people who never weren't subjected to that type of stuff. Living in the same jurisdiction as someone who was.
Yeah, so that's just like studying.
And has to do with status.
And the same thing is going on right now.
That's happening
We're
right
not
now.
embracing
Right now,
it.
exactly. But just in a different form, you know? But the content is still the same.
And everybody here is on the direction or in that spot of being one of the free people.
Or else you wouldn't be here.
You understand? That's why you're here. And that's how small it is. That's how many people are still.
Because we're
Yeah.
it's like, we're talking about how in the jurisdiction of Toronto, right, we have people who gravitate to this information, right? You know what I mean? Then there's people who don't just gravitate, but they actually apply this information.
Yeah.
Right? There's a jurisdiction that's accessible to anybody in Toronto for them to learn this information, right? We can't force people, and we're not gonna force people to claim their birthright. It's theirs. If they want it, they're claiming it. If they don't want it, then continue to suffer.
Just like the horse as well.
It's not,
Yeah, it's
That's
just
just what it
it's
is.
like a cancer patient. If
Right.
you're not gonna apply the proper way to feed yourself, then you're just
So
gonna
tell me
die.
something, they could use this card anywhere and it works.
No, always I was Selassie.
Even
I want to answer that question. I want to answer that question.
Islam.
I want to answer this brother's question here regarding the card. Okay, let me answer that for you. It's not about the card, as everyone said so far. It's about your knowledge of self. Now, the difference between a Moor and a black person is, we got black history. They're digging out Viola Desmond and saying she's a hero because she went into a theater. Let me answer the question. She went into the theater, and she's a hero because she didn't want to sit with her own people. She wanted to sit with the white folks. Instead of saying, they don't want me here, I'm not going. Now, as your son said, he went to the store. He either used his card or he didn't use his card. But he made a decision that, or he could have made a decision that if he goes into the store and they don't want to honor the card, he can say, thank you very much, keep your merchandise, I'll go somewhere else. And you can bet your ass that eventually that store is going to start honoring the card because they're going to lose too much business when people know who they are. I bought my computer, I didn't pay the taxes on it. I didn't even have a card. I rest my case.
Yeah, but nobody don't want to go through them things there.
What do you mean?
Well, wait,
What do you mean? Yo, how do you think the farmer gets his fruits? How do the farmer get his fruits?
The rest of my, I mean, not true enough.
Okay, I have a gentleman with a question here. I have a gentleman with a question.
we're open for questions right now, so we got,
Yeah.
so open questions and whatever.
Okay, is more country, our nation, our flag, what is it?
Yes.
Empire.
Well,
It's a flag in front of me.
the flag represents Morocco,
Mhm.
right?
It's a
Where
flag.
where you're at. That's why we put the flag, because we're in Morocco,
Mhm.
right? Your nationality is based on where your flag is flying. Because flags come from people. Flag
The
don't
flag,
make
the
itself.
flag come from the people, that means the nation, the flag.
Yeah, he sees the flag.
People is
Right,
more,
right.
Yeah.
that's the flag.
And that's their flag.
All right, continue.
And then that flag is relative also to the land.
Mhm.
But not only the land, it's also relative to the sea.
Yeah,
Because when you dock a boat, it's called mooring,
that's why you have that commerce.
right?
Yeah, okay, go on to my-
When you get off the boat, the first thing you do when you get off the boat or the spaceship is you
Anchor.
plant your flag,
Yeah, answer my question.
right?
Okay.
Other questions? Anybody else? It's question time now.
As far as country, it's just the land. Sorry,
That was
so
question.
you said country too, right? You said people, flag, or country, right?
No, he said all the above.
Yeah, so as far as country, it's everything.
So what is the
So,
antidote?
I have a question.
What's the antidote for this disease, man?
Say that again?
What
Antidote
is
for
the
the
antidote?
disease.
Yeah.
The antidote for the disease of mental slavery?
Yeah, identity
The
deficit.
identity deficit?
Well, Mount Down.
The remedy is
That's what I do.
really
Yeah. It's
doing your studies on that gap of history called Moorish history that they never talk about.
Oh, so why particular Morocco history? Why you show me more, it's all more relevant to Morocco. Why it's not about Ethiopia or
We're
like,
not talking about the country of North Africa.
no, but why focus on this country, Morocco?
Which country?
Morocco.
Which country?
No, that's what it's all
No,
about.
no, I'm trying to clarify your question though.
When we say Morocco, God, we don't mean what that over in North Africa, Morocco.
Okay, well,
We mean the empire over here, North, South, Central,
so who running the
and
empire?
America,
Who running the
and
empire?
Americana.
Who running the empire?
Right now, the empire is being run by Europeans
Because we don't want it.
because we don't want it.
So why?
We want to be black and African.
What
What was the last question you
We have
just said?
subject ourselves to a foreign jurisdiction
Correct.
and abandon ours.
Not voluntarily, by force.
Yes, Yes.
Okay, hold on.
yes.
But then
Most
also
people
say
say that,
that
I would never say
Yes,
that.
by force,
No,
what's
I would
holding us down?
I would never say that.
Not just by force.
I would never say that.
Most of it is by force.
By the time you see them,
Having it no more.
you already invite them already. As I told you, the Old Testament, New Testament. Okay? When they came to our land and they give us words
Yeah.
they use. And we take on to those words, not knowing that we were subjecting ourselves to a foreign jurisdiction. We take on to ourselves names like Jamaican.
We don't take it out, they gave it to you.
Well, I think I went and
They gave it, but then we took it, so then we took it.
No, because they were supposed to back it up.
Okay, but now, in this day and age, right? Why are we still a Williams? Why are we still a Smith? No one's putting a gun to your head and say, you have to be Smith enough. Right? Nothing stopping you from,
hold
nothing
on.
that.
Pertaining to these names now.
Yeah.
When those guys who came on the ship came, they came with each ship of a guy on it. And this guy was versed in the coloring of the words. That is to say, move words around, letters around.
Yeah.
The word might sound the same, but have a different meaning. Okay, and they teach you the meaning of these words. Okay? My point is that we are the one who actually go to school and learn this new thing.
Yes.
Learn it.
So what else?
And because we go get a job.
No, but what else?
What's he gonna do?
No, but that's the question you're gonna ask when you don't
went
know
and get
better.
a job. And we get a job and all these things, and we take, because they always give us something nice for you to come in. We've been doing that
Rock and the cheese.
long time.
Rock and the cheese.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's why when these guys come and they're versing in words. Me, I call it it's sorcery. It's spelling. Spelling. Okay?
Words are just convenience.
Huh?
Words are just convenience. You know, when somebody want to get you somewhere, then tell you words. That's what words really mean. You know?
Sweet talking.
They didn't put it this way. They give us a lot of history that we never lived. A lot of history. We never lived those history.
That's right.
Sometimes nothing to do with us.
Islam.
Exactly.
I was gonna say,
That's
especially
what I'm saying.
about us. Especially about us.
They didn't give us, what they did,
Turn the tables.
they want to work for us, learn this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we
And
should
you abandon this,
I'm hands up for you.
and hold on to that.
Look, I'm hands up for you.
I
I think we should come hands up for you. What's great, come up with.
Hands up, hands up.
Before, you know, I believe there's more things that can bring us progress.
Don't believe nothing. No.
Yes, with the corruption. What we're really dealing with is progress. We want progress.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So, when we want progress, we have to look how we say progress before. And we can't say in that direction is progress, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
You show me anywhere where God shows favor towards any more in this time where we're living. So we can look at it.
1913
We can look
to
at this
1939.
time here happening now, so we can look at it and say, yes, that is favorable.
Hey, what about right now?
Okay, so
I
can
mean,
you
that's
show
like-
me another situation where a group of people that looks like us is being favored?
All right.
Thank you.
I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me finish that. When the command to Jamaica,
Yes.
right, which is Rastafarian
Yeah.
origin,
Okay. Yeah.
right? We find that favorable
Yeah.
by making us the best in the runner in the world, because the Lord tells us we will run and never get fear because
Stop talking that lie now.
Stop acting like you're a Rasta.
I want to hear what his reason Can I hear what he has to say?
that the world will not be able to sing. And Jamaica come out with the best music in the world.
Best jerk chicken too. That's how we gonna go to?
Let's go Jamaica. Let's go Jamaica.
Everything.
Okay, so you're talking about
Tree.
sports.
Tree.
You're talking about
When this man walked in, everybody was happy. I thought he was
I was seeing no favor showing to the poor.
But when you say what's the benefit?
I'm coming again, the third favor. I've seen we have a religion, which is Rastafari, wherein it is towards the progress and development of black people, because you see when we just show you.
Hey, what I say,
In
what I must
contrast to Islam,
Yeah, man.
which
that's what
put black
Interruption.
people in slavery,
Yeah, I must
Interruption.
and still putting black
You
people
have a
in
Rasta
slavery.
identity card.
You know what?
That's a landlord from another government, not your government.
Why are you
Most of the great that is nonsense. They are broke and
Look at her answer. Look at her answer.
You have to
Look
study
with
the
who
word.
are
Doctor, she's answering. Doctor,
she's
she's answering.
The reason why we're all in here, or the reason why we're all in here, yeah, let's listen, hold on. Tucker, the reason why we're in here wants to say something right now. Alright, hold on, Islam. Future, Amun, say what you have to say, brother.
Yeah, I can talk, man.
Right, I took him to the washroom and he's sharing some stuff with me and he wants to come back and address
All right, Marlon.
everybody.
People came here to hear a lecture, not to hear other people's talk. At the end of the lecture, you could ask all the questions you want.
Right, and this is something you want to say for a long time.
This is about
Right?
but we're in the question.
You know where the question's to right now, but he's addressing the whole thing. He's making an observation and seeing that we're pretty much acting at a lower maturity level than he is. Maturity level. Sometimes you have to look to the youth sometimes.
Say something now.
And you make an observation.
I want to answer something.
To look at it, really. Toronto, there's those two places alone who could all sit at the same table. Imagine what kind of power that is. Imagine what kind of collective power that is. We're not calling our individual selves God. That's not what we're calling us. It's the collective of all of us.
I've seen collection of black people in
I got to on the record, though. I'm sorry. Just go on. What is it?
You're talking about Jamaica,
I want to ask you one question. I want to ask you a question. It's a fact that Angela said you must not use black and white to refer to human beings.
That's right.
Okay, that must be eradicated from speech. Now you as a man will keep saying and we love the king, I'm king on it. But the king said, stop calling people black and white. That must be eradicated from speech. You're not following that book.
That might be true, but
So then why are you not?
I come in here and I use here this man.
No, but he's not a Rastafarian. He's not a Rastafarian. You are.
You are, bro. You're responsible for your. You're responsible to your profit.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're black. You're black. You're black.
that guys show favor. So I think that the scenario is mixing up civics with faith, spirituality. For example, in the 1400s, even present, there's Christian Moors, there's Islam Moors, people still Muslims, there's Moors.
Aboriginal.
Hold on, I'm speaking still. Hold on. So what I'm saying is, the faith is not in question.
Exactly.
Rastafari is a liberty, right? A culture.
Not a liberty, it's a religion.
All right. Okay, let's just don't fight it. Hold on. Rastafari is a religion. No problem. That's fine. No problem. Rastafari is a religion. Okay. So hold on. Rastafari is a religion. Talker. Rastafari is a religion. Wait. For him, he says spiritual power. I'm talking.
Next time, go to the meeting camp. Don't come to the lecture.
So Rastafari is a religion. That means Christians are religion. Christians are religion. Islam is a religion. Christians are religion. Hinduism is a religion. And what I'm saying, Toka, is Toka.
We don't see that word, so no spiritual power.
Tucker, if you have
Islam not spiritual power. Islam is a religion.
What is Islam, Tucker? Tucker, what is Islam?
We have no spiritual power.
What is Islam? Tucker, what is Islam? What is Islam?
6 o'clock.
What is Islam, Tucker? What is
I have to say is
Here we say Islam.
All right, Tucker, can't expand on time.
What is Islam?
Islam?
What is Islam?
Islam is a body of people that enslave black
No, Islam is Islam. Hold on. If you don't know, let me explain you.
That's your example from the book.
Why? Let's put that record as more knowledge what Islam is.
We don't want to say book now.
It matters, but ask me.
May I tell you when we observe?
That's very nice.
And when we
according to Moorish people, means Islam, Lord and Master, which is meaning, right? Hold on, which is meaning you must master, right, yourself. It's about self-discovery. It's about inner discovery. That's what it's about. It's not about something outside yourself.
But you get good at
Okay? So that's what it is. Right?
Practice make perfect.
Hey guys, if I can get your attention for a minute.
I love Rastafari,
No problem.
So I man respect all of the ideas.
Yeah, man, respect.
I man come here, want to say sometime, you know. Where am I saying now? What do you know?
No
You can't fight inside.
We're not fighting.
Yeah, but just wait. I'll give my time. I'm correcting.
No one's fighting.
Some people they can't correct, you know.
We know from last time.
But hey, why am I not smart? I want to be not more, you know. How are you doing here?
I talk about Kush and I talk about black people and this is nonsense.
Then why did you come? Then why did you come here?
To teach, you know.
You go to last time. You didn't invite me this time.
I'm really inviting, man.
Okay, I want to thank you for coming to the lecture.
He's talking.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming to the lecture. We're going to finish it off with some words from the Grand Chief. We have lots of we have lots of Moorish literature, books, you know, memorabilia, whatever, shirts and all these things. So feel free to support the Moors. You know, if you like to leave a donation, help cover some of the costs and stuff. feel free to do that. And I want to thank you again wholeheartedly. The Grand Chief is going to finish up with
deepest explanation I ever heard. Deepest explanation I ever heard of Rastafari was by a Moor who came down to Rideau Street. That brown skin Moor with the dreadlocks, I can't remember his name. He told us the 7 seals and all of that explanation. And I bought the DVD. That's the deepest explanation I've ever heard.
You know what's the 7 seals? The 7 seals. Let me tell you what the 7 seals. The 7 seals is England who rule the 7 seals. And when His Majesty comes and break us off of them. Break us off of them. So the 7 seals is broken. You understand? So put it on this tonight. Put it on this tonight. But I use that.
Well, you don't come back. Don't come back. We don't need you. Where's
No, yeah, the man
Right now, if you want to talk like
you know what? Don't talk. If you're not for people. It's evident you're against people. You're not for So we like to get together. We like to get everybody down here to the front.
And I also want to give a round of applause to Alfonso.
We can disagree and all.
The timekeeper. You left it to illuminate our hearts.
I don't wanna give up, I'm just trying to live up. I don't wanna give up, I'm just trying to live up.
I'm sitting contemplating whether I wanna give up. I'm here concentrating on giving a fuck. They say to succeed, I'd rather achieve. They want you to believe and take it slow, but I bring it to fruition. I make it grow, manifest destiny. That's all I know, but the test keeps testing me everywhere I go, and I'm trying to open sesame and break this fucking mold. Now this search for this recipe is eating on my soul, all my members and faculties. I'm trying to gain control. They say it's a process, we all gotta go through to get to higher self from low. But a soldier never knows the strength until he faces foe, and a mastermind never knows by being told. He traces DNA to the ages that were old. Beware of the spies and the lies that they sold. Align with your constitutional fold. Align with your constitutional fold. Align with your constitutional fold. Don't give up. A million voices in my head saying, Jay, how could I? Why would I? A million voices in my head saying, Jay, how could I? Why would I? Future isn't just one. A million voices in my head saying, Jay, how could I? And why would I? Starly a moon. Sitting meditating on the quality of life. Here deliberating if I should stay in this fight. They say we don't read, put it in a book. They want us to concede. I never look, but I use my intuition. I'm never shook, they'll never get the best of me. That's all I know, wanna get next to me.
Police Officer Lambie, again, can I ask you why you're following me around?
Everywhere I go, trying to open dissect me. Hell fucking know I'm on my search for this remedy. Hear this common cold, all these senseless casualties who's there to console. They say it's a process, we all gotta go through to get to higher self from low. Weight on the shoulder, dense pain I couldn't show. It's hard to find and always know what is your role. He gave us our state more than silver and gold. Be clear of the signs and the times that they told. Align mind, body, spirit, and soul. Align mind, body, spirit, and soul. Align mind, body, spirit, and soul.
Don't give up.
A million voices in my head saying, Jay, how could I? Why would I? A million voices in my head saying,
Don't give up.
Jay, how could I? Why would I?
Future isn't just one.
A million voices in my head saying,
Don't give up.
Jay, how could I? And why would I?
Who are you, Jay? He's back, the light giver! All hail Jay! All hail Jay! All hail Jay! All hail Jay! Oh, merciful one! Go back and reconcile your past in order to move tranquilly into your future. Give twice as much as ye receive on the most sacred of days. Wait! The commandments! The tablet! The tablet! The tablet! The tablet! The tablet! We have lived by its word, and peace has reigned throughout our world. Pass it on to others, so that they too may be enlightened.
A million voices in my head saying,
Don't give up.
Jay, how could I? Why would I?
Future isn't just one.